January 22nd, Tamika Good was found guilty on all counts of trespassing and breaking and entering. She was sentenced to 90 days in jail and fined $500.
Yo, what up? It's Majay back here in another video. Today we're about to be reacting to a video by Atazi, and it's gonna be on Judge Humble's TikTok squatter who stole a $2 million mansion. Damn, these squatters are getting that dangerous now? Like, they stealing a $2 million mansion. I will never get like how this even goes over there in those states that allow that squatter right act or whatever that dumbass law is, but let's get into the story.
This TikTok squatter just spent 9 months living in a $2.3 million mansion, posting TikToks from inside like it was hers, all while arguing she didn't need permission to be there.
Spotlight on Maryland reported in December about 2 alleged squatters who took over a $2.3 million house in Bethesda. Tamika Good, the squatter and self-described pro se litigation coach, featured the estate in a TikTok video posted on her account just 6 days ago. Good was charged last year with multiple counts of burglary, trespassing, and other crimes associated with her squatter takeover of a multi-million-dollar Bethesda home.
How do these people exist? How do you steal someone's house and blatantly brag about it online?
One thing to add, if this was a regular ass house and a regular ass, Joe, these people wouldn't do nothing about this. This story would have probably still got shot up to the limelight, but like it would probably take a longer time to deal with this. I've seen other videos where like regular people get their house taken over by these type of people and nothing's really ever done at the end of the day, probably until like many months later.
Does shame not exist anymore for some people? Like, if she's pulling up in a Porsche, she could afford housing, unless she stole the Porsche as well. But after 9 months of occupying the mansion, Tamika Good was found guilty on all counts of trespassing and breaking and entering on January 22nd, which, after hearing the full story, it's obvious that that ruling was a long time coming, because for more than 9 months, a mansion in Bethesda, Maryland, one of the wealthiest suburbs outside of Washington, D.C., was being lived in by someone who did not own it and did not rent it, and didn't even have permission to be there. That person was Tamika Good. Tamika describes herself as a pro se litigation coach, which essentially means that she represents herself in legal matters and gives advice to others on doing the same. You know that she would be best friends with the TikTok psychic because she also loves to destroy her own life and then represent herself in court. Which I guess some of that confidence might be gone because now she's privated her TikTok. But Good was really active on social media throughout the entire situation. Instead of treating the mansion like a temporary hiding spot, no, she treated it like a backdrop. She posted TikTok videos from the property, filmed inspirational content, and spoke about her legal battles. And in most of these clips, she talks about
Oh, so you're literally just waiting to get caught. So that's why they finally caught on to this little fucking 9 months too late. But like, nigga, what the fuck, bro? So many of these people like to tell on themselves, man. You're fucking retarded. Why do you have to tell on yourself, man? Dude, does everything need to be projected onto social media? Like, oh, bro, look at my house. Oh, look at my car. Like, bro, that's how these people like are just filled in the head, bro. Like, I mean, I be doing my little flexing on social media, but like nothing is big to get me in trouble if I'm not doing nothing wrong, but if I'm ever doing something wrong, like why the fuck would you snitch on yourself like that? Nigga.
Herself like she's the victim rather than someone occupying a house without permission. Like, ma'am, you broke into that house. That house is not yours and you have no lease contract. What are you on about? In one video filmed with a mansion right behind her, she shows off the house less like evidence in a criminal case and more like a prop in a vision board. It was kind of like she was like manifesting living in some mansion, and instead of, providing enough value to society to be rewarded to do so, she just breaks into one and calls it her own. Years later pointed to her own videos and posts as evidence that she knew exactly what she was doing by trying to exercise control over the property. In other words, her content helped show the intent. So in court, Good chose to represent herself, Awesome. Great move. But I guess at least you followed through with what she posted online. If she's coaching people how to represent themselves in court, if she's not representing herself in court, that's kind of hypocritical. So at least she's not a hypocrite in that way. I am really reaching to give her some kudos here, but essentially she argued that the ownership of the home was unclear because it was foreclosed on. And she claimed that the absence of a posted no trespassing sign meant that she couldn't be certain that she was doing anything illegal. What do you mean?
What?
This is like saying, hey, if Hamika Good might break in and claim your house as her own. What a complete moron. But still, she framed herself like she was being targeted, but people
This is why some people are like afraid to just leave their house alone for a long ass time. You never know if they can break in, especially those states that allow this dumbass squatter rule. Well, I don't know if this was a state that allowed that since they finally arrested her goofy ass, but it's just essentially like that. That's why people are afraid to go on little expensive ass things. That's why they get a house sitter. But if you're not that rich, you never know.
living nearby reported a stranger living in a luxury home, posted online, and refusing to leave. So I like imagine being one of the neighbors, and then suddenly you like scroll past and you find out one of your new neighbors just broke into the house and is now posting on TikTok how they broke into the house and are now living there. Like, what? It's getting dystopian out here, guys. But basically, at some point last year, Good moved into the home and simply stayed. And the property was vacant and tied up in foreclosure issues, which turned out to be the opening that she needed. And once she was inside, she refused to leave. Neighbors noticed, but months went by and nothing happened. Like, can you imagine if you lost your home in a foreclosure and you actually leave the property when demanded to, but then randomly some TikToker decides to pull up and just starts living in the property for free? But despite complaints and attempts to get her removed, the situation just kept being treated like a civil matter, not a criminal one, which means there was no immediate eviction, just a slow legal crawl while someone lived full-time in a luxury mansion that wasn't theirs. And what's so ironic is it was like, what, 2 months ago, if even, that we covered a similar case in the same area, basically. Like, this is in Bethesda, Maryland. The other case we were covering was like, I think
Bethesda, Maryland. I wonder if they got that squatter rule.
it was like Northwest DC. So profile, she did the opposite. She posted about it a lot. Of course she did, or else we wouldn't be covering it here on this channel. So she filmed a whole bunch of TikToks where the house looked like it was a part of her lifestyle. And according to the people living nearby, the longer this dragged on, the worse it felt. One neighbor later described the ordeal as almost like a year of terror because of how helpless everyone felt watching this play out. But the wildest part about this story is this case didn't go forward because of, the bank or the police, but because a 19-year-old college student who lived nearby finally decided to file some criminal charges himself. So Ian Chen lived nearby with his parents when his family realized someone was illegally squatting in a $2.3 million mansion just a few doors down. And they did what I guess you would expect. They called the police. And according to Chen,
Bro. Just imagine if he didn't go through with this shit. It probably would have went on longer, bro. You never know if it might went on like 2 years, bro. She was acting like such a probably like a public ass nuisance. It probably just got to the point where that nigga got tired of it and just filed charges against her. This is why the legal system is just fucked, bro. Like legal systems in the damn US are just like stupid. But when the government get involved in your business, they want to arrest you and just do all the worst shit to you. But like, it's just crazy how some laws just got so many dumbass loopholes.
nothing happened. He later then said that they reached out for help, but were basically told there wasn't much anyone could do. Meanwhile, the person squatting in the house was still there. And Chen said the neighborhood was scared, especially the elderly residents. So instead of waiting for the system to wake up, Chen decided to file criminal charges himself for trespassing and breaking and entering. And the system, very late, finally caught up. So once this all finally made it to court, Good did the whole I don't understand who owned the house thing, which, just because you don't know who lives in a house doesn't mean you can just show up, break in, and live there. Like, went with that argument anyway, saying that because she didn't know who owned it, she didn't know that she was actually trespassing. And my main question here is, how do people do stuff like this and not live in constant anxiety? Like, ultimate nightmare. You're squatting in this house. Somehow the owner gets the house out of foreclosure. They show up to the house at like,
Nigga. I mean, Clearly she didn't give a fuck if she was filming TikToks and being on all over social media, just like filming herself in her background and saying, "This is how I got my house. This is what I live in." But clearly she didn't give a fuck about all that like backdrop. For me, nigga, if I was in that situation, I would be fucking scared, my nigga. Like, you gotta worry about so much shit. You gotta worry about the police knocking on a door randomly, interested in you, and you got to worry about your car out there, especially with your license plates, where it could lead you. I mean, legally lead you to the identity of a person. It's just like fucking crazy that you literally can't fucking make that up. I would be fucking scared. I think she has such a fucking ego. Probably she just forgot about all of that shit. Probably seeing her doing good on TikTok and seeing people on TikTok actually believe in this shit and didn't give a fuck.
4 in the morning, they turn on the lights with you sleeping, and they're just standing there in the doorway staring at you. That is not how I would want to live. I don't care how nice the house is. I am not going to squat in a house that's not mine. It's like, well, I wasn't told no, so I can just live there. What kind of entitlement is this? But regardless, prosecutors were dealing with someone who entered a property, changed the locks, lived there full time, and posted about it online, all without any permission. And she failed to appear a few times. So they also had to deal with the case getting dragged on. So the state attorney general said, "I know who doesn't own the property, and that's Tamika Good." And I mean, that's fair. She might not have known who owned it, but she for sure knew it was not Tamika Good. But luckily, the judge didn't buy into her argument. He said that she, in quote, had some demented thoughts to justify squatting in the home. Because unfortunately for Tamika, the law doesn't work on vibes. It doesn't work on technicalities you just invent out of thin air. And it definitely does not work on the idea that if ownership looks complicated, you just get a free trial period for a mansion. Like, hello, what's going on here? So obviously, once those arguments fell apart, the case started being about intent, and that's where her own behavior came to haunt her. Because while all of this was dragging on, Good was over here making TikToks in the house, documenting everything. So a whole bunch of the prosecution's case ended up coming from Good's own TikTok videos, where she openly showed herself entering and exiting the property, posing with it, and treating the mansion like it was hers. So when you think about intent with a case like this, the question is, did the person knowingly occupy the property? Were they exercising control over it? Were they acting like the owner? And Good answered all of those questions herself on camera. Great job. Essentially, she is her own defense attorney.
Like I said, stop snitching on yourself, bro. Like, dude, you never know what these prosecution and everything got prepared for you once you're like literally in like criminal sight. Man, like I said, she didn't give a fuck. But like that shit's crazy that this shit went on for that long and nobody did nothing. And it took a 19-year-old pressing charges to do something about it.
January 22nd, Tamika Good was found guilty on all counts of trespassing and breaking and entering. She was sentenced to 90 days in jail and fined $500, which is crazy low.
That's it. You break into a house, live there for 9 months, and this happens. 90 days in jail and a fine, bro. Okay, they too light. I'm sorry to bring the little gender war back into this, but if that was a nigga, they would have fucking fried that nigga, bro.
Really does not decentivize people from doing this again. Free rent for 9 months in a beautiful mansion, 90 days of also free rent in a less optimal place to be in, though. I feel like if you have enough problems, that almost sounds like a win. And the fine for $500 could just essentially be your rent for that whole year. 9 months free, 3 months also free, but in a jail facility. So that's a full year of free rent right there. Or well, a full year of rent for $500. Anyway, she was arrested right there in the courtroom. And apparently there was also a second person living in the mansion named Corey. So that's interesting, but he didn't even show up for the court hearings. So more than likely though, that's probably because he also had an unrelated warrant, which he ended up being arrested for as well. So this dude couldn't even show up to court because if he did, he would be arrested for something entirely different. Like, Awesome, guys. Why are you committing more crimes if you already have warrants for your arrest? But when Tamika was questioned by a reporter, she lashed out and told him to get out of her face. So that's cool, I guess. I feel like the homeowners would probably respond, get out of my house. But at this point, her entire plot just fell apart.
Judge John C. Moffitt gave remarks before he made the ruling, telling Good she had some demented thoughts to justify squatting. The prosecution replied, "This is frankly nuts." Good was found guilty on all counts of burglary and breaking and entering, and immediately sentenced to 90 days in prison.
I think the District Court of Maryland did the right thing today.
Ian Chen, a 19-year-old living with his parents in a neighboring house to the
Man, oh, okay, bro. Like, it's good that they finally caught this hoe. And sorry, but it's good that they finally caught her and everything. But it's bad that it took this long to even, like, you know, give her some type of charges. And I'm glad they don't stand for like like squatters like rights. I thought that in the beginning of the video. Well, it's clearly they don't. But at the same time, they still gave her a light ass punishment. That ain't shit. 90 days and $500. You get to sleep in a prison. Essentially paid for everything. That's not even like a good punishment. You could have gave her a year in prison or something, bro. She literally essentially broke in, and that's like burglary. It like changed the locks on the fucking doors and lived there for that long. Like, she see, these days you can just get away with anything. But hey, if you guys enjoyed that video, go check out Tazi's video and like and subscribe. We made 300 subscribers. We on the road to 350. Catch you guys in the next video.